Hello and welcome to the 5th edition of Papua Memories. I'm John Hyatt, and I would like to talk in this segment once again about the boat that we called the Mapi, and also crocodiles and a chicken. So there was a particularly memorable journey that we went on in the Mapi boat with my brothers, Joel and Daniel, and my father. And also there was a couple of Papuan passengers with us, and we were traveling from Nohon, and I believe the destination was Sengo. The boat was basically empty at the time because we had already carried whatever cargo it was that we needed to transport to Nohon, and it had been emptied out of the boat, and we were now returning the boat so that it could carry more cargo. So as we traveled down the river, it was a very beautiful and scenic trip. I tell people that growing up in New Guinea was a bit like growing up in a National Geographic special. It was the scenery and everything is very impressive. Papua is a beautiful country, and so as we traveled down the river, and the rainforest was on both banks, and there were wild orchids that were growing, and we saw many different kinds of birds, especially water birds, coming and going. But one sight that sort of startled us is that as we came around a bend in the river, there was a sandbar, and there was maybe 30 crocodiles on this sandbar, all lying right next to each other, sunning themselves. And as we went past and the wake from the boat hit the sandbar, it startled the crocodiles, and they all poured off of the sandbar into the water, and the water just boiled with all the crocodiles that were in it. It was a little bit of a disconcerting or a scary sight. These are New Guinea crocodiles. They're freshwater crocodiles, not quite as dangerous as the saltwater crocodiles that you got closer to the coast, but still quite dangerous. So it made an impression on our minds, especially if you had to go to the bathroom. And the reason is that the Mapi boat really didn't have a bathroom or a head on the boat. Originally, and if you're going on a long trip, somebody's going to have to go. We would have had to, we had to pull the boat off to the edge of the river and tie it off, and you would have to go off into the jungle and do your business and come back and get back on the boat. And that involved a lot of delay. So my dad's idea was to build some sort of an arrangement so that you could go to the bathroom without having to stop the boat. So he created a cubicle made out of wood with canvas curtains, and this was attached or bolted to the Mapi boat, but it stuck out the back. So it protruded out the back maybe 3 feet or so beyond the stern of the boat. So when you had to go to the bathroom, you went back into that little cubicle, and you had 2 little boards to put your feet on, and you look down between your feet, and there's the river less than a foot below, and the wake of the boat going through, and all you can think about is one little slip, and you're in the river. So this involved a little bit of anxiety for my brothers. So when they had to go to the bathroom, I had to go back there and watch because if they slipped, somebody had to yell to make sure that the boat would stop and that we could rescue them. But when you're sitting back there with your feet on those two boards and you're looking down at the water, all you can think about is all those crocodiles. So that was kind of scary for us. Another disconcerting episode that happened is the two Papuan passengers that were with us. One of them had a chicken, and the chicken had its legs tied together, and it was in a woven bag. And so it was lying there on the deck of the boat, and it would, flop around from time to time. But the boat had a problem. So the drive shaft for the propeller went from the engine and had to pass out through the hull. And where it goes through, there's a packing to keep the water out. But that packing leaked. And that's kind of normal. So that's why you have what's called a bilge pump. So when the water leaks in, there's a handle, and you work the handle back and forth and you pump the water out of the bilge. But the problem is that the packing was leaking too much. And so my dad was having to fairly regularly ask one of us, either us boys or one of the Papuan helpers or himself, to go over there and pump the bilge and get all the water out. And it was the water collecting was causing the boat to slow down. So Dad decided it had to be fixed. So we stopped the boat, and the decking was taken up, and there was this opening, and there was this shaft at the bottom of the opening where it went out to the propeller. So Dad would go down there and he would work on the packing and tighten it up or whatever, and then we would do a test run, and he would crank the motor up, and we would go down the river a little ways and watch it and see how much water came in. And then if it was good enough, we could go on, but if not, he had to stop again and work on it. So after having worked on it, he decided that he thought it was good and we could go, but we needed to give it a really good test run. And so he cranked the engine up, the floorboards were up, the shaft was exposed, had a universal joint was in the middle of it. And so we started running, and we were watching how much water came in. Well, the chicken got restless, and he was, popping around, and the handle of the bag flipped over and went down into the hole. And as soon as that handle touched that shaft, within a fraction of a second, there was a perfect ring of pureed chicken all around the boat. This taught me to respect shafts. So that's where I will wrap up for today. I believe we'll have another segment, and we'll talk about bats and cannibals. Thank you.